Hello. Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy. I am your man, Mr. Alton Henry, and today I'd like to talk to you of another film that I am convinced that is severely underrated, and it's available on HBO Max, and it's available on DVD. But who wants DVDs during this time of this time now? You know, I still do. I'll still collect it. Whatever. I like DVD. But it's also on the HBO Max. Right here, I just finished rewatching the crime thriller Drag Across Concrete, starring Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn, Michael J. White, Troy Kittles, Udo Kier, Jennifer Carpenter, and Don Johnson, and Thomas Kretschmann. And it's a story about two police detectives who have been suspended for harsh treatment on their suspect, and they're suspended. So Mel Gibson's character gets a tip about a possible, I would say, a possible heist, but a possible scheme to earn money while they're on suspension. And turns out that they get involved in some bank heist. When I heard about this film, I just keep hearing it online that it was a pretty good movie. It's really good. It was entering into film festivals. It had some recognition, but hasn't really been well explored. So I gave the film a watch, and I got pretty obsessed with it. To be honest with you, I think it's the second time, or was it the third time? I can't remember. I think it might have been the third time I watched this. And I'm gonna just straight up and tell you, this was a phenomenal thriller. This was great. I don't really. This is a great film, and why I believe it's great. The film is suspenseful and it builds up constantly, especially when I guess the scenario where Mel Gibson, who along with Vince Vaughn gets suspended, he devised this plan with his I'm gonna say he tells his plan with his wife, what he plans on doing, and after that it gets heavy level like suspense, like it slowly builds up into that finale. And Mel Gibson, he's always been a great actor. I think he's one of the greatest actors I've seen. This guy is energetic. If you've seen any of his films, you can tell this guy was born to act, and he is a great actor. He was amazing in this. Actually, this probably earned one of my favorite roles of his. Going on, I think the guy is 60 years old, and he looks good for 60. This guy owns this role as I think his name is Reagan. He owns this character where he is in a situation where he just is suspended. His family, his wife has multiple sclerosis, and she can't really support herself, along with his daughter, who they're raised in a terrible neighborhood, and they don't have much money. So he comes up with this plan illegally to steal money from some robbers. Vince Vaughn, maybe 20 or 30, 20 years younger than Mel Gibson. He joins along with him, understanding the situation, but then he acknowledges that he might need a little extra money. Joins in on it, even though he doesn't like it. Now, what I've noticed about this film, and this is what I really liked about it. Do you know one of those expositions where, when you're watching a certain film, where they basically reveal to you what's going on during a conversation in a car, and they kind of rush through it? This has one of those sequences, but it's done a lot better, and it feels like the characters are actually having a natural conversation when the plot is revealed through Mel Gibson's point of view. He explains what he knows. He explains where he kind of gets this information a little bit, and they kind of add a little bit of humor to it, natural humor where you would, I guess, you would normally hear like in a regular conversation. And they do this several times in the film where it actually feels like a big chunk of the film where Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson are just sitting in the car and they're just having a conversation, just eating and plotting and then figuring out what to do in the situation they're in. And it takes a good chunk of the film when they're in that car, just talking and then following people and then talking again, having lunch, and then following again. It's actually kind of interesting that this filmmaker is S. Craig Zoller. I think he's also a novelist. That he takes that moment of the film and allows his characters kind of just naturally have a conversation and use those sequences to kind of drive the plot of the film, which I really liked it. I really liked it. I really like how they did that. And it's not rushed. It's not shoehorned. It feels natural, and it took its time to build that up. And I really liked it. I really liked how different that this filmmaker chose to tell the story. What I really loved about it was, again, the intensity behind it. When you feel that urge of suspense, you're kind of terrified of where it's going to go, because when it leads to somewhere, it doesn't end very well. This film was dark. It's dark as hell. Uh, like there's a scenario where it reveals that Troy Kittles and Michael J. White, I think they're like close friends who gets involved in helping these guys to rob a bank. They kind of help get all this gear and drive into this bank, and they rob it. And when they're on screen, they're terrifying. And they commit the robbery. There's a terrifying sequence where they hold everybody hostage and they're given instructions. And Jennifer Carpenter is in that sequence, and they're all trying to figure out what to do, but they're really terrified. You don't know what's going to happen, and the suspense that builds that up. It's so much dread. You don't know. You don't want anybody to mess up in that moment. That's what I really loved about it. There were dire consequences in that scene, and I won't go into detail into it because I highly encourage you to watch it on HBO Max. Also, the build up to the confrontation sequence, that's also suspenseful, with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn trying to take down the robbers. And there's a lot of twists and turns where that scene kind of develops, or just how it kind of went. Well, I wouldn't say twists and turns, but there were ways where it went I did not expect it, and I was pleasantly surprised how that turned out. Troy Kittles, dude's great, man. I think I'm trying to think of another film I've seen. Man. I think he was in Those Who Wish Me Dead, and then I think he played one of the detectives interrogating Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson in True Detective. That guy's a great actor. To hear, he really shines, and I would like to see more of him in more roles. Like this guy steals it. This guy steals it when he's on screen. Mel Gibson and Troy Kittles steals this film. Oh man, this movie is so intense, man. Man, this was so good. Like, man, actually, when I watched it with my brother, he was kind of just like gripped. Like he doesn't like. I don't think he knows he wants to watch this movie again. But I'm telling you right now, this is a good film. This is an intense movie, man. And this film, I think this film is very bold in its choices with storytelling and dialogue. There's things that happen in the film that I don't think you would get approved through mainstream cinema. I just don't. I think this film takes a lot of risk, and I respect the hell out of it. May not be everybody's cup of tea, but I highly encourage everyone to check this film out. And I wish this film got more recognition. This film should have actually got Mel Gibson back on track in the mainstream. This film was great. It's phenomenal. This film, there's a big unpredictability of where you think the story is going to go, and when you're watching it, you are on the edge of your seat from point A to point C all the way. This film never lets up, but again, it is a slow build crime film. The movie is about 2.5 hours. It takes a while to kind of get in once it sets up everything in the first 30 minutes, and then it kind of really kind of starts picking off from there. But this film was phenomenal. It was great. Like I'm just like, man, this movie was great. I highly recommend it to anybody who's seen this film. Who hasn't seen this film, please check it out. Let me know in the comment section below if you have seen Drag Across Concrete. If you've seen it, would you share it? Would you recommend it? Would you recommend this film to somebody? I highly recommend you do that. Please, please, I'm telling you right now, this movie was phenomenal. Comment below, let me know. Thank you for watching. Follow my Instagram and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.